Yeah, so this is an interesting presentation to do. I mean, this is one of my first ones to do online. So it will be interesting to see how the crowd interacts. And it's a thought after Michael invited me. It's a thought that I had around the essence of digital identities. So one might think when they think about digital identities that I would directly mean this basically. Oh, wait, can you see? Okay, I'll get to that afterwards. That I would mean digital identity, which is the information that is used by computer systems, similar to Bilal's presentation, and actually taking it further. However, I'm here to talk more from, I would say, a community perspective, and also touch upon the topic of what does it mean to connect online, and what does it mean, how does it change our lives right now. So the traces that we leave online and the data that we have online, but on one hand, how that affects us. So especially in times of Corona, and I'll get to that. And on the other side, also how does it affect our human connection? So I want to touch these two different topics that to my opinion are quite interlinked. So who am I? So my name is Elena Poughia, and I run two interlinked entities, Dataconomy Media, which is a publication about that has to do with everything around data science and machine learning and artificial intelligence. And then I'm also a founder of a community called Data Natives, and it consists of a lot of tech people, data scientists, machine learning experts, and so forth. And you can find me on the internet as Elena Poughia. This is a bit of an outdated emoji. As you can see, my hair is much longer now. But yeah, going back to the digital identity. So what was I thinking? Of course, like if you look at the way of classifying a digital identity, it's really the digital footprint that we leave on, the footprint that we leave online, and is collected by computer systems, and it represents an external agent. And it somehow right now in this current day and age becomes us. So, and I would say, and related to this, I suppose most of us here have lived right now the last couple of weeks, months in isolation, with very little contact, physical contact, and we have used our, we have all very fastly become digitally transformed, even more. And I know that we specifically are a very special breed of people that already were quite hyper connected, and also very interested in following all the latest gadgets and information around technology. However, still, like I guess even for us, like this has been a new way of connecting and communicating. And I would say that what I guess for me, it has been coming along a lot, and I've seen it also from my network and from the people that I've been connected to. For me, 2020 was going to be the year that I would slow down either way. That was a personal decision. So but also it was the year that I thought it would really be the year of change in terms of climate, and in terms of how we would how would we react about that. And I guess following that, the year of impact. So so this is the interesting part. So on one hand, you're thinking about yourself being isolated and being unable to go to events like we normally go, to connect with people. And already we knew before that essentially we are producing so much content online, and we're leaving our traces online a lot more and more. And essentially, I mean, everyone here knows that, not everyone here knows, but for everyone here, it's quite apparent that essentially, like, everything that we do it generates multiple amount, like a huge amount of terabytes in data online. And if you think about it from a future historicist or archaeologist, how they would go back and see all of the data that we have collected, pretty much they can really create an artifact of us. So again, though, aside of the future historians, you should also think about the impact that I was talking about before, how to make an impact. So from our perspective, when in March, when the whole when in Europe it started to affect, because I'm based in Berlin, when the Corona crisis started to affect Europe and specifically Germany and different we went into a lockdown. I think the first thing that was the most prominent for us was the paralyzation of what exactly are we going to do now, and how can we continue and how can we support. So so basically, we thought that the best way to do that is to really contribute to the global hackathon movement. So we started doing hackathon, and we already done 4 hackathons so far. We've done a hackathon. The very first hackathon was the Hack Corona hackathon, which happened in March, and then we did one, the Hack Corona Greece. We also participated and contributed in the EU versus virus hackathon, which was a pan-European one. The Easter hack, which also another one in Germany, and generally. This is pretty much what we slowly realized, that this feeling of connecting online, it's pretty rewarding if you have a mission, and if you are able to see some results, if you're able to see like how you can have an impact. So I guess that's why this is pretty much like the conclusion, that essentially the same way that in the 90s, like the internet was the money, now I think impact and how we can actually contribute is the new money. So this is on one hand from the side of really community building and how you present yourself and your digital identity online. But then on the other side, what is happening in these hackathons, and what is really impactful in this hackathon, is all of this open data and open data sets which are collected and they are used by all these hackers to create something that could benefit people and could have a social good that would really affect us in society. And I think that those hackathons specifically, because we were organizing hackathons specifically for hacking the COVID-19 from different angles, whether that was in healthcare, whether that was with technology that could really advance society, whether that was to support the frontline workers. This is what is the benefiting aspect of it, is thinking about how this open data can be used to help save lives. And of course, there's this side of the story when it comes to open data from a consumerist approach, I would say, or capitalistic, that actually a lot of also known publications see that open data can have also a financial impact. However, one thing that, and that's why I'm talking a lot of, that's why I'm talking and thinking about digital identity, is that we also need to think about the privacy. So how can we have open data? How can we be able to use that data for the betterment of society, but still maintain our privacy? And I think that one of the things that has struck us out now in this sort of urgency of the current moment is that we haven't really been thinking about our privacy that much. So open data is a choice. It's a choice of the organizations to give away their data freely. It's a choice of the ministries, of the societies, of the government to provide data for social good. But what about the privacy of the user? What about our digital identity and what we're leaving traces online? This is, and I won't talk about it too much. This is the global index of open data, where you can see how every nationality, every government, and this is pretty important, especially now that we see a lot of cross-governmental collaboration. you can see how much information they have readily available. And of course, we should also consider like how many of these data sets when it comes to healthcare are readily available. um, as you see here, there's actually not a lot that specifically points out to healthcare. I'm based in Germany, so I can only talk about Germany. But essentially, we are ranked number 24 when it comes to that. Yeah, this is a video. I will skip. Um, I think I will skip this time. Is about the impact of the internet. I already made that analogy that I think that essentially right now data is the new internet. It's a very nice video to see from David Bowie explaining the power of the internet when internet was not fathom even. It wasn't considered as important and what impact it could actually have in society and life. But yes, I see that data is the new internet. I see that essentially right now, especially when we're talking about a digital identity and our traces online, we should really consider what kind of data we put out there, because especially considering that even outside the internet, even outside our digital experience, and we are all made of data. What we are, if you think about it, what we are, what our cells are, our information is our genetical information that is being transferred. And it has some aspects that they are expressed, and it also has information that is passed on history through our genes, that is the memory of our cells. So every little bit of your body essentially contains information about you. So information is very important, and it's basically the key of civilization. And that's why it's so important for us to think about it, and from a privacy standpoint. And I think we've been through the age of innocence. I would also say that right now we've been through the age of urgency. Because when you're under stress, when you're in a panic mode, you do things that you're not even thinking about because you want to reach the desired outcome, which is right now for us to find a solution to fight the corona crisis. Um, so from a data perspective and from a data scientist perspective, we know that, and we want to have data that is gathered transparently and with the consent of the users. However, what is the line between access versus abuse? How much do we say that that is given with our consent, and what is found for about us? And I guess being in Europe, that's something very important to think about from our perspective. And I would say not only addressing to data managers, but generally to anyone, that we really need to be data ethicists. It's really important to consider what data is yours and private, and what data is open and public. And I think there's not really an either or here. It's really a both and. It is about being able to still have privacy of the user and be able to maintain a healthcare infrastructure, specifically for the corona times. What has been the inspiration for this talk? I would say the most has been this article by Yuval Noah Harari, which is about the world after coronavirus. And it is something that I've been thinking about quite a bit, because I think that for everybody, not only when it comes to the healthcare infrastructure, this corona crisis has changed our life and has turned our world upside down. And that means that the way that we perceive society, the way we perceive human connection, contact, physical contact has changed. And also, we've also have changed the way that we view privacy. And I think that we should be more careful about that. I could also go in and give you other examples around what I consider important when it comes to privacy and data sharing, but I think they're outdated. I think I really want to focus on Yuval Harari's actually statement. I think I'll go back and I'll focus on that. And on that note, I would really like to open the floor and invite more people who would like to share their opinion on this matter. So is there anyone here who would like to make any comments so far in what has been discussed? It doesn't seem likely. Does anyone want to say something? I don't know if I have to allow you to speak, but I don't see any questions here, so I'm not sure. Okay, then I will continue. So then let me then talk about what other aspects of data privacy are important and what actually misuses of data. So I would say then that basically the media and the media also have to do with how much augmented has been the information that has been shared, of course, around the corona crisis as well. We've all known in the politics, from politics, that essentially has also been a lot of election hacking. So these are new ways that our society has been leaving, has been communicating with us and leaving traces for us. Of course, there's theft, online secure. I mean, a lot of security holes and a lot of ways that our online identity has been stolen. There's harassment and stalking, and I guess that's a very common way that you can, you know, you're not safe. Basically, a lot of the times online, when you are very public about your opinions and when you are very public about what you do, and you can be harassed and stalked. And of course, the right to be forgotten, the right to be able to be erased from the internet, to not have a digital footprint. So here in Europe, we have a lot of tools that we have implemented to support the topic of GDPR, of data protection. So when we're talking about open data and research, for example, going back to healthcare as a topic, what we really want is to be able to minimize the data that we need to use, really specify it, don't have more than what we need, really focus on the data for the purpose that we use it, and store it carefully, and limit the storage. When it comes to healthcare, I think a good example is actually what Apple Health is doing. So for example, when you are downloading the app, you really need to go through these steps in order to be able to opt in. And for example, there's the Empower app, where you could see that more than 75 people participated in the study. This was about a study and research, and donated the data. However, they followed the protocol and they were asked. And usually when people are asked, they are sharing the data freely. And especially when it comes to a good purpose and they know that it's very specific. So basically, you can see here that there was a download the app, then provided consent, and then they verified the email, and essentially they opt in to share the data. So why should you care? Well, there's a lot of reasons why I think you should care. Post-corona, pre-corona, I think you should care because we do need to make data science accessible. And especially now when we're all online and mainly working through our laptops, we should find ways to have a common data glossary where we understand how these things can function and how these things can work to make the world easier. In that way, we can also remove unconscious bias. We can really, with open data, that is also collected with consent from the users, and it's private and accessible, you can really be able to filter and remove unconscious bias. You can really make it open. You can be more inclusive in that way. That means that the data set that you have, it's not only from one specific data set, but it filters in a lot of other parameters, and you can be transparent in that way. And honestly, like the way that it's in the beginning, being transparent doesn't mean that you're not private. One does not exclude the other. And that's it for me so far. Any questions from the crowd? Anyone would like to ask anything? Or anyone would like to open a conversation about things, perhaps? I think I need to unmute people because I see someone who wants to be unmuted, right? But I don't know how to. Doesn't allow me. Hello? Anyone has any questions? No? Hello? Okay. Okay, I think that was a mistake. Well, anyone has any comment to have a conversation for the next 5 minutes? I've presented my double presentation. Hi, Kern. Would you like to talk about something?
What are we talking about exactly? Oh, sorry. Let me set my microphone. What are we talking about?
Well, I was actually just talking about digital identities and communities in the post-corona times.
And what do you think the post-corona times are going to be like?
What do I think they will be like? Actually, I just said as an example the Yuval Harari's article. I don't know if you read about it, which pretty much talks about the urgency that we're currently facing, this current time is facing, and how essentially because of the urgency, there's a lot of privacy concerns that they have been, let's say that they have been over, because of the urgency, we tend to make decisions much faster. So a lot of the privacy topics have been overpassed, just focusing on the end result, which for me means that we haven't taken necessarily the necessary measures to protect our identities online, and that's my main topic. What do you think about that?
Our identities online. Yeah, I guess it's not my really area of expertise, really.
What is your area of expertise?
Identity in a psychological principle. I have a clinic here in Zurich, so I help people with their sense of identity, which is what causes a lot of friction in the world. So when you talk about a digital identity, I guess I don't really go into that all that much. I think most people have a difficulty working out exactly what their identity is within the real world as we see it. You're right, the world is going to change dramatically, but I think people's focus about what their digital identity may or may not be might be a little bit mild. It's more a question of what sort of system they're going to be shall we say, suppressed by, would be a better way of looking at it. Things are going to change in the next 10 years massively, and people are going to go into a position of social re-evolution, which means that they're going to, just the idea of digital identity is going to be a little bit mild for them. It's more a case of really how they're going to live effectively within a world that takes their jobs and takes their everything that they've got. You're looking at global meltdown, so it's a little bit mild.
It's funny you say that, because I disagree. I disagree a lot on this, because I think, but maybe like I come from I think everybody talks from their own perspective, depending on their upbringing, and also their social, their own social, how their life is socially constructed. So from my perspective, like, digital identity plays a massive role, because I am very much connected with a lot of people online. And I think that people, especially after the internet boom era and social media era, are constructing whole realities online that don't necessarily also fit in with their offline world. I think you're talking specifically about how the socio-economical landscape would look like because of the effect of the job loss, but there's going to be a lot of new jobs. They're just not going to be offline, they're going to be online.
Could you sorry, just what job are you thinking of?
I mean the same way that I guess industrial revolution revolutionized the job market when it comes to manual labor. Similarly, a lot of jobs right now, I mean, there would still need to be someone monitoring what's happening online, right? So
why?
Why not?
No, let me, it's quite simple. Why not? Why would you have, maybe I should clarify in the context so I understood the sentence better. What do you mean you would have somebody online? What did you mean by that?
Well, I suppose like you were talking about a social revolution that would change things, and a lot of job losses. From my perspective, there will be job losses, but there will be new jobs. So that would we need
yeah, but I'm trying to understand what that new job might be.
So, for example, let's say if there is a job of someone that would require manual labor, manual work, like even let's say even the example, yeah, I mean, I'm thinking, I mean, a lot of the processes are automated, right? So a lot of things that could be done by people, the same way the industrial revolution happened, can actually now happen by machines. But still, there should be someone there who looks over the results that these machines are producing. Why? Well, I mean, because anyway, it's the machine needs some parameters, some boundaries in order to produce a result, and you can always double check the results.
Yeah, but I'm still understanding, why would you get something that's inferior to check something that's superior? Why would you need that?
Really? You think it's inferior?
A human being is infinitely inferior to an AI.
I don't.
Sorry to interrupt. I think also it depends on inferior in what, you know.
Inferior in consciousness.
No, no, not in consciousness, not in but that's exactly it. No. The AI is not inferior in consciousness.
No, I said human beings are inferior in consciousness.
No, exactly. No, human beings are not inferior in consciousness. Why would you think that human beings are inferior in consciousness?
I spend all my days in the psychology field and the AI field, and I can only agree that they would be.
Why?
Mark, we can't hear you.
Maybe I can answer a question and I can help. I don't want to hijack the meeting. It would be interesting.
No. Mark is actually set to talk in 2 minutes because Mark is actually the next presenter. So
yeah, I think, but this is really relevant, so we can segue very smoothly, and you guys can continue your argument. And it's vital to society and democracy, so don't stop. But like, if you want, we can continue as an add-on to what we were just about to start talking about now.
Yes, maybe if you don't mind, Kern, just concluding with the last point, and then we can just segue to your presentation, if that's okay. What did you?
I'm not sure what I'm concluding on.
Okay, you're not
that was
concluding.
it.
Okay, all right then.
Can
Mark,
let me just help you just briefly in about 30 seconds. We're in a social re-evolution. It's nothing to do with the Industrial Revolution. The problem is we're in a consciousness revolution. In the Industrial Revolution, everybody still moved from left brain thinking to left brain thinking. At the moment, most of society is in left brain thinking. Only when we move from that into what we call T3 thinking, which is a higher state of consciousness, can we actually so we interface with AI. At the moment, we're nowhere near it.
all right, okay. No further comments from me. Mark, you can start, and then maybe I will comment after I hear also the input of your presentation. But thank you very much, guys, for me as well for being here. So
thank you.